Rain hammered the streets, slick and chaotic, as Vivi Carter moved silently through the shadows of her penthouse. Her fingers clenched the worn leather duffel, the weight of her plan pressing against her chest. Inside, only the essentials. Her passport, cash, and a small photograph of her late grandmother, faded but comforting. Luxury surrounded her, diamonds sparkling even under the stormy gray light filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. It was a gilded cage. Mac Donovan's world. A penthouse of power, wealth, and suffocating devotion had kept her alive. Yes, but it had also trapped her. Every breath was measured, every step calculated. Freedom was the thing she craved, more than gold, more than security. Somewhere far below, the city roared, oblivious to the quiet tension in the skyscraper above. Vivi adjusted the strap of her bag, taking a deep breath. She had been planning this for weeks, every detail meticulously plotted. She had to leave, now, before Mac discovered the signs she had been careful to hide. In his private office, Mac's fingers tapped the surface of a glass table. A massive monitor displayed feeds from security cameras hidden throughout the penthouse. His piercing blue eyes narrowed when he noticed one feed. Vivi's duffel was gone. A dangerous cold heat spread across his chest. She was trying to leave. He murmured under his breath, almost to himself, "You can't run. Not while they're in you." His gaze lingered on the subtle curve of her abdomen that she thought she had hidden too well. Triplets, his heirs, the most fragile part of his world. Back in the apartment, Vivi's heart raced as she heard the elevators ding earlier than expected. Someone was coming up. Her pulse spiked. She grabbed her coat, pulling it tight around her body, and darted toward the door. Every instinct screamed at her to move faster, to vanish into the stormy city streets, but fear gripped her like steel. The elevator door opened, revealing Mac. He stepped into the hallway, wet from the rain, hair plastered to his head, his presence immediately chilling the air. His eyes locked on hers, a dangerous mix of fury and possession. "You're trying to leave," he said, voice low, controlled yet lethal. "Do you really think I'd let that happen?" Vivi's jaw tightened. "I'm not running from you, Mac. I'm running for me. For them," she whispered, her hand brushing the swell of her stomach. "I can't live like this anymore, like a prisoner in a golden cage." His expression flickered. First anger, then something else. Something fragile and human. "And yet, you are mine. Every step, every breath belongs to me." She shook her head. "Love is not ownership. And your love is a weapon." Mac's lips pressed into a thin line. He stepped closer, the storm outside framing his silhouette like a god of vengeance. "Weapons are necessary to protect what is precious, and you are everything precious to me." Vivi's breath caught. She realized this confrontation would not end with words. It was a battle of wills, and the city outside had become irrelevant. Every second counted, every movement was life or death. The sound of her phone vibrating startled her. A message. "You're being watched. Be careful." Her pulse jumped. He was already onto her. The duffel, the coat, the careful planning. It wasn't enough. She could feel his awareness pressing in from every corner of the penthouse. "Vivi!" Mac's voice was both warning and accusation. "You're not going anywhere." Her eyes darted around, assessing every route. The terrace? Too visible. The stairwell? Too slow. She had only one shot, the underground garage and the back exit. She moved toward the elevator lobby, hoping Mac would hesitate, but he didn't. His steps were silent, deliberate, and closing the distance between them. She ducked into the service corridor, heart hammering in her chest. The rain outside masked the sound of her footsteps, but she knew he could track her. His empire had trained him to anticipate every possible move, every escape. Suddenly, the sound of an engine growling echoed down the alley outside. A black SUV, sleek and menacing, blocked the only exit she could reach. Mac wasn't chasing in a car. He was here in person, waiting. Not today, she whispered to herself. She reached for the nearest emergency exit, but it was locked. Panic threatened to overtake her, her chest tightening with every heartbeat. She could feel the life growing inside her. Triplets, and a fierce determination surged. She would survive. She had to. Somewhere faintly, her friend's voice came through her earpiece. "Vivi, keep moving. Take the back stairs. The garage will get you out. Don't stop for anything." Vivi nodded, even though he couldn't see her. Her hands trembled, but she forced herself to focus. Each movement, each breath was a calculated risk. Freedom was close, but so was danger. The storm outside intensified, rain lashing against the windows like a drumbeat of fate. Vivi glanced back one last time at the life she was leaving behind. The diamonds, the opulence, the gilded prison. Her eyes hardened. This was the moment she would fight for herself and for the 3 little lives growing inside her. The garage loomed below, dark and empty. A choice, a risk, but also a chance. Vivi's fingers clenched the leather duffel tight. Every step down that stairwell was a step toward survival, toward autonomy, toward life beyond max control. If you're already hooked by Vivi's escape, hit like, comment what you think will happen next, and subscribe for the rest of this thrilling story. Rain still pounded against the windows as Vivi descended the service stairwell, her breath ragged, heart hammering against her ribs. Every shadow seemed alive with danger. The duffel pressed against her side, a heavy reminder of the triplets she carried, their tiny lives depending on her cunning, speed, and resolve. Above her, Mac's footsteps echoed faintly. He moved with a predator's precision, silent, measured, closing in on her with terrifying certainty. Vivi ducked into a maintenance corridor, pressing her back against the cold concrete wall, listening to the rain, the distant hum of city traffic, and the soft rhythm of her own pulse. He knows. He always knows. She darted again, this time toward the fire escape. The door was locked, forcing her to slam her shoulder against it repeatedly. Finally, it gave with a loud clang that sent her heart into overdrive. She climbed out into the storm, wind and rain assaulting her, the city stretching below like a battlefield. A shadow moved across the ledge above. Mac. He didn't yell, didn't curse. He didn't need to. The sheer presence of him, soaking wet, his coat flapping in the wind, eyes like cold steel, made her shiver. "You really thought you could get away?" His voice rolled down the stairwell, low, dangerous. Vivi swallowed her fear, grit hardening her spine. "I don't want to run from you," she shouted back. "I want to breathe." A storm of emotions passed over Mac's face. Rage, confusion, something almost vulnerable. His hand tightened around a railing, knuckles white. "You're not thinking clearly. You don't understand the stakes. You have my triplets inside you. You're part of me whether you like it or not." Vivi's chest tightened. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but another, far more primal, demanded that she survive, for them. She darted toward the alley below, reaching the ground and splashing through puddles. Her phone buzzed again. "Garage is ready. Move fast." She sprinted toward the shadows of the parking structure, but Mac wasn't far behind. Each step he took was a measured threat. Every movement a reminder that he could end her escape with a single gesture. Yet, despite his dominance, there was hesitation in his eyes. The first hint that the stakes were different now, that her pregnancy complicated everything. In the garage, the black SUV waited, engine idling. Vivi threw open the door, climbed in, and slammed it shut just as Mac appeared at the top of the ramp. His eyes locked on hers, storm raging between them, every second charged with tension. "You think this changes anything?" Mac demanded, his voice low and dangerous. "Leaving won't undo what's happening inside you. You can't outrun this. You can't outrun me." Vivi braced herself. "I'm not running from you. I'm running for me. For our children. For a life where they can exist without fear." The SUV roared to life, tires splashing water across the empty garage floor. Mac's gaze didn't waver as he watched her flee. "You don't get to decide that yet," he muttered. Hours later, with the rain fading to a thin drizzle, Vivi and Mac were forced into the remote forest cabin. Mac had ensured their retreat was complete. The penthouse was no longer safe, and the rival gang, Ryder Kane's crew, would stop at nothing to destabilize his empire. Inside the cabin, the air was thick with tension. Mac's eyes scanned every corner, his body rigid, ready to react to any threat. Vivi watched him cautiously, realizing that the man who terrified her was also the one most consumed by protecting her. "Why are we here?" she asked softly, voice tight. "Why can't we just live somewhere normal?" Mac's jaw tightened. "Normal doesn't exist for people like us. You're carrying my triplets, my responsibility, my legacy. I can't risk losing you, or them, again." Vivi's anger flared. "You think controlling me is protection? You think locking me away makes me safe?" Mac's hand trembled slightly, betraying a fraction of his fear. "You don't understand. Everything I've built, everything I've survived, it was all to protect the ones I care about. You, them, they are all I have left." She softened, if only for a moment, realizing the roots of his obsession. "And what about me?" "You matter more than anything," Mac admitted quietly, his voice rough. "But you're part of a world that will kill you without thinking twice. I can't let that happen." Hours passed. Vivi found the leather-bound journal tucked beneath the floorboards. The pages were filled with meticulous handwriting, detailing Mac's past trauma. The murder of his childhood friend by rival gangs as leverage, the betrayal, and the vow to never lose anyone precious again. Each line revealed the origin of his obsessive protection and the walls he had built around himself and her. The journal's last entry made Vivi shiver. "I will protect them at any cost, even if it means losing everything I love." That night, they shared a rare Z moment of quiet. Mac brewed tea over the small cabin stove, handing Vivi a steaming cup. For a few minutes, the world outside didn't exist. They spoke softly of the triplets, of names, of futures. Vivi insisted she wasn't just a possession. Mac listened, silent but attentive, his eyes softer than she had ever seen. The cabin air was heavy, the storm long gone, but tension still crackling like static. Vivi's hands trembled slightly as she held her phone, the name Ryder Kane blinking on the screen. Her plan was dangerous, audacious, and maybe even reckless. But it was the only way to protect Mac, herself, and the triplets growing inside her. She dialed. Her voice was steady, calm, but beneath it flowed steel. "I have information for you," she said, "but there's a condition. You do exactly what I say. You make sure Mac knows I betrayed him." There was silence on the other end, then Ryder's voice, sharp and mocking. "You're playing a dangerous game, Vivi Carter. If he dies because of this, it's on you." "I know," she whispered almost to herself, "but it's worth it." Within hours, Ryder Kane's crew was mobilized. Mac returned to the cabin, his face a storm of fury, unaware of Vivi's orchestration. He slammed the door open, eyes blazing, every muscle coiled like a spring. "You lied to me," he shouted. "You set me up. You made me vulnerable." Vivi held up her hands, standing firm despite the fear twisting in her chest. "I did it to save you," she said, voice clear. "To protect the triplets. I needed you to fight, fully, without hesitation. You couldn't afford doubt." Mac's chest heaved, mind whirling with anger and confusion. You did this to me?" "Yes," Vivi said. "And now it's time to finish this. Together." The first gunshot cracked through the quiet forest air, a warning from Ryder Kane's ambush team. Mac's eyes hardened, his fury transforming into lethal focus. He drew his weapon, the trained calm of a man who had survived countless battles descending upon him. Vivi slid into the armored SUV parked nearby. She pressed the accelerator, engine growling as she maneuvered to block the attacker's advance. Mac moved with predatory precision, neutralizing threats one by one, every movement perfectly choreographed. Each bullet fired, each step taken was fueled not just by skill, but by the raw power of love twisted with fear, rage, and protection. Through the chaos, Vivi kept her mind sharp, guiding Mac with subtle signals from the SUV. Her heart pounded with adrenaline and fear for the triplets. Each decision, each maneuver, could be the difference between life and death. Minutes stretched, the fight reaching a fever pitch. Ryder Kane, cocky and overconfident, underestimated the bond between Mac and Vivi. He charged forward, only to find himself confronted by the unstoppable duo. Mac's precision, honed by decades of survival, and Vivi's cunning, born of desperation, proved unbeatable. Finally, the last of Kane's crew fell. Silence enveloped the forest, broken only by heavy breaths and the distant rustle of trees. Mac lowered his weapon, body shaking. Not from exhaustion, but from emotion. His eyes met Vivi's, and in that gaze, the storm of anger, fear, and doubt melted away. "You risked everything. For me," he said quietly, voice thick. Vivi's lips quivered, the adrenaline still coursing, but she managed a nod. "For us, for the triplets, for the family we have to protect." Mac took a step closer, then another, until he cupped her face in his hands. "I've been a fool," he admitted, voice raw. "My love, my obsession. It was a cage. I see that now." Vivi's chest tightened, tears threatening to spill. "We survived this," she said softly. "Together." He lowered his head, pressing his forehead against hers. "Together," he echoed, the word heavy with newfound understanding. 3 months later, sunlight poured through the large windows of a modest but beautiful home. The opulence of the penthouse was gone, replaced by warmth, light, and life. Vivi sat in a rocking chair, triplets cradled carefully in her arms. 2 boys and a girl, tiny miracles that had survived the storm. Mac knelt beside her, one hand resting gently on her shoulder, the other softly brushing the hair of the little girl in her lap. His blue eyes, once cold and dangerous, now shone with reverence and humility. "They're perfect," he whispered, voice choked with emotion. Vivi smiled, exhaustion and joy mingling. "They are, and we survived it. All of it. No cages, no obsessions, no fear. Just us together." Mac's hand closed around hers, fingers intertwining. "I promise. I will protect you. Them without controlling, without fear. We'll build our life on trust, not ownership." Vivi nodded, tears slipping freely now. "That's all I ever wanted. To breathe, to choose. And now we can." The triplets stirred, cooing softly, reaching tiny hands toward Mac. He laughed quietly, a sound so rare and human that Vivi's heart swelled. For the first time in years, the weight of the past, the trauma, the battles, the fear, felt distant, manageable, beatable. They sat together in quiet awe, the sun bathing them in warmth. Outside, life continued. Storms raged elsewhere, but here, in this home, the storm had passed. The family they had fought so fiercely to protect was whole. Mac leaned over, pressing a gentle kiss to Vivi's forehead. "Freedom isn't running away," he murmured. "It's staying, choosing, surviving, together." Vivi rested her head against him, holding the triplets closer. "And we survived," she whispered. "Together." If you loved Vivi and Mac's journey, don't forget to like, comment your favorite moment, and subscribe for more thrilling stories. Share this adventure with friends who love high-stakes drama.